Welcome to the Public Spectrum podcast. My name is Gabriel, and we are live today from the 11th Annual Australian Government Data Summit presented by Public Spectrum, live in Canberra. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we gather today. We recognise their continuing connection to these lands, water and culture, and pay our respects to their elders past and present. Now today, I'm delighted to be joined by Domenic Brasacchio, Senior Account Manager at Cloudera.
Lovely, thank you very much, and a pleasure to be here.
Now, what I want to do first is to get to know you a bit and Cloudera. But first I want to focus on you. Can you give us a little bit of information about your background?
My current role is to assist clients with adoption of working with the Cloudera products or platform. And most of the time what I'm doing is assisting with understanding their challenges, how they could use the Cloudera platform to assist with the various business challenges that they do, and bring along some of our subject matter experts or technical people to assist with that. Mainly it's all around management of data for intelligence and insights, and to assist with, if we call anything, ongoing business value.
And for people that might not be familiar with Cloudera, which we hope isn't anyone out there, can you tell us a little bit about Cloudera and its mission?
Cloudera's mission is to make sure that we can enable people to use and empower their organisation to apply self-service analytics and derive as much value out of the information that they manage. So Cloudera, being an open source built organisation, has a lot of ways for information to be collected, stored, managed and manipulated and visualised. And so what we do is we empower organisations to use that data in any way, in any structure, and run anywhere. And so our evolution, our history of the big data concepts going through to today, where we work with AI and to help with people with visualisation across very disparate systems. And our focus is to help with modern data architecture.
So there's a lot of offerings there that centre around utilising data effectively.
Correct.
And I would like to call out as well that particular differentiator that you mentioned in terms of the emphasis on open source, which other providers might not actually place an emphasis on.
History, we're talking 25 plus years, is always about that everything we do is contributing back, and the benefit is that our clients who purchase basically our platform and subscription are getting that benefit that it's an open book and our contributions aren't just a black box. And so when we talk about some of our clients who like to feel like if there was any circumstances where they had to change or adapt or evolve, being an open source foundation, we will always have access to the code for them to work with, as well as confidence that they can make changes and work with us to achieve their goals they need.
No, that's very good, because obviously today we have heard at the summit that transparency is a key consideration for senior leaders and organisations in terms of data usage and also adoption of software as well. Now that we've got to know you a little bit and Cloudera's mission, I want to jump to our famous Data Dump segment. So Data Dump is a light-hearted, nerdy segment where we chat about data insights and the personal side of data professionals like Dom. We have one golden rule, short answers only, but we have, in each episode so far, broken the rule. We'll see if this time we can manage that. So we'll start with some data-related questions. The first question, AI, game changer or just overhyped?
It's a game changer. If we talk about the evolution from machine learning to AI, it is definitely about helping organisations do more with less.
Very, very succinctly said. Now, do you use AI? And if you do, what's one quick example of how? And that might be personally, that might be professionally.
I do use AI, and Cloudera does use AI in itself. The main focus around what I do is when I investigate or do analysis on organisations that I'm working with, I try to use AI to help me summarise from a strategic alignment and business value. So their goals, top priorities, things that are probably not being achieved in a timeline, and go from there. So I use a lot of query analysis and then summarisation to help me in that way. Cloudera uses AI mainly for how they support their clients. So when we bring on our clients and onboard them and help them with day-to-day support, queries, or even just general cases, we put that through our chatbots, which allow them to segment, look for known cases, known issues, and then return response as quick as possible to that client, but try and make it as personal as possible.
And I think that's something as well that we need to emphasize when using AI. Obviously, one of the main benefits is personalization of data solutions.
Correct.
As long as we're managing that data safely and responsibly,
Yes.
as well as the use of AI.
Yes, big thing that's important. The underlying foundation has governance.
Yes. Now, we'll move on to the next question. What's a data trend or buzzword you think we'll still be talking about 5 years from now?
Agentic AI. So with the evolution of AI and people using AI in various scenarios, combining those scenarios and then try to make it more like a conversational AI. Agentic AI is the big thing that's enabled that. So when we talk about how we engage with people and how we have a conversation, we have multiple channels that we talk about or multiple topics, and we bring that in and sort of maintain a conversation. So agentic AI has helped that a lot. It's still evolving, but definitely that's the buzzword and things that we've seen with our organisations in their growth.
That's good. And it looks like we've got quite an audience here, a big Cloudera contingent. We've got Vinicius here, who is the Chief Technology Officer, and a couple of the crew from the Cloudera booth. But it looks like they like your answer of agentic AI, so we'll keep that one going.
Thanks, guys.
Now, what's the most important thing to consider in the data strategy?
I think understanding where the business value is coming from. So we always talk about what is the strategy of what the goals that we're trying to achieve. Mainly what I talk about is, okay, so if we're talking about a productivity gain or key KPIs that we're trying to achieve, then what is the related information that we need to achieve that? And then what is the related information that we need to manage to help achieve that ongoing improvement or tracking of that? So data strategy should focus on those and should relate to those KPIs and goals which allow for the strategic direction to follow.
And a follow-up question, do you think Vinicius will agree on that?
Oh, I think he would. I think he'd be very, he'd tell me the first thing, what's their data strategy, and if there isn't one, we should be helping them understand what that looks like. So.
No, that's good, because it definitely is something every organisation should have. In addition to an ICT strategy, there should be a data strategy as well. Now, I want to jump to what's the biggest data misconception leaders need to stop believing?
Just putting in AI doesn't solve all your problems. You need good data and you need good governance. So a lot of organisations that we start that journey with, we always talk about good data in, good data out. So when we work with organisations and we start to understand the quality of their data, the quality of the understanding of the value of their data, then that usually helps them with the understanding of what they need to do to achieve their strategy. And so if you don't understand that, if you don't have those basics right, then what will be happening is you'll be challenged on how you're answering with confidence that you've achieved the outcomes that you're looking for or the insights that you're trying to achieve.
No, definitely a good call out, because as we mentioned, transparency is the key thing, so we want to have all that evidence ready. Now, moving on to a bit of a lighter question. If your data work were a dish, what would it be and why? And some examples, we could have a layered lasagna, we could have a deconstructed salad. Maybe it's a little bit less complex than that.
It definitely would be a deconstructed piece, because what we've got is the data lifecycle management is all about working in different stages and making sure that we can bring it together, but you can run and edit individually as well. So the deconstruction allows you to work on that, let's just say, individual item or a piece, so for example, a piece of meat or a potato or salad, but at the same time, it's not all mixed up. And so the deconstruction is a good way for me to describe that. And also, when you say how that all comes together, that also is that alignment to the strategy, or really what we talk about a modern data architecture of how the organisation can get access, use the data, feel protected and feel confident that there's no jeopardise to policies or process.
No, that's very interesting, and we did have a previous guest also talk about a deconstructed plate with all the different ingredients unassembled, so that again we can create any data recipe that we want. And obviously with any data recipe there are certain things that we need to follow to make sure that we don't overcook the data, undercook the data, and making sure it does fit in the data strategy. So that is the end of our data related questions.
They were good questions, Gabriel.
I'm glad you like Data Dump. I'm hoping it's going to become a recurring segment. That was my value add. And I now want to get to know you a bit more personally.
Sure.
So we'll start with, what was your first job?
I was a software developer. I worked with, at the time, COBOL as a COBOL language. And in those days it wasn't object-oriented, so it was what we call a structured language. So yeah, that was the first language and first job I worked with. Yeah.
And the good news is I am still old enough to know what COBOL is. But for some of you who are younger watching this, you may need to research it. But essentially, it's just a programming language that I have chosen not to invest time in learning, hoping that it will just get retired.
Correct. Same here.
Now, what's the best piece of career advice you've ever been given?
So constantly in life, you're always going to be challenged, where I should go next, where I should pivot and stuff. The main thing is if you see a problem and you see that your gut feel is that this is not going to go well, then you should nip it in the bud. Don't wait, don't let it blow up, because I commonly say where there's smoke there's fire. If you can put out a small fire, it's much easier to put out than a big fire. So my piece of advice is always, when you see a problem, take it first on and don't delay till it gets out of control.
Definitely good advice. Obviously, it's easier to manage smaller problems than bigger problems. Now, I would like to ask you, what's one word to describe your leadership style?
It's very personal and empowering. So I like to make sure that I'm part of a team and that team is contributing. So that's my leadership style, empowering to make sure everyone feels like they're part of that team.
And I think that's very good, and it's a theme again that we've seen across a lot of our senior leaders, enabling staff to end up with those high-performing teams. Now, working in data, it sometimes means you don't always have time to do the things that you want, but what's one skill you've always wanted to learn if you had the time?
Actually learning to write a machine language or a model, an LLM on its own. I've always been playing with AI in certain ways, but I've never sort of created one model from scratch. So that's something I would learn. I know that's time consuming, and I know you've got to have the right thought and mindset, and that's something that, it would be just a goal that I could achieve once in my life. So.
And do you already have the name for it? What would this model be called?
It'd be Dom's way of thinking. So when you query a piece of information, rather than sort of saying this is the right way, this is the way Dom would do it. So yeah, I have this knack of saying everything will work out. So what does that mean? Well, you just got to try and make it sound like it's easy. Exactly.
Yes.
So,
well, Dom seems very trusting, so I would hope his model is also very trusting, and we can just let everything work itself out.
Yes.
Now, I want to jump to, what's the nerdiest thing you've ever done?
I have in my university, I've written a computer program relating to spatial location for electronic devices. So in the old days, that was seen as just location awareness, but that was for me extremely hard, extremely stressful, but very rewarding because we were able to show something working.
So are you trying to tell me that you've created GPS? Is that what
It's exactly, I would call it my form of GPS. So yeah, I wouldn't call the accuracy of the latitude, longitude or the coordinates that we were gathering as good, because GPS devices were really bad in those days. But what we had was a way that we could, the concept of cross positioning, So you could say, hey, if I'm at this end of the building and I'm also seeing something at the other end of the building, maybe I'm in the middle of the building, that sort of concept. So yeah, that's sort of things that we did in cross-positional referencing. Yeah.
That sounds very exciting. Now we've already got Dom's large language model. We've got Dom's GPS. Anything else you want to add to that list?
No. I think it's what I do value is making sure that if we are having a problem that we can solve for a client, we're giving them an outcome that can be managed. So that's the key. Anything you do in life, make sure that you can put something on the table that they can take and run with.
Definitely valuable advice. Always looking at that purpose. Now, in terms of advice, or maybe just in terms of providing our audience with some entertainment, what's a book you recommend people read?
A couple of years back, I read a book on the New Zealand rugby team, which was all about how you could build up a team from scratch, turn them around and do that. So I forgot the name of it, but one of the things that it did do was it taught me the value of everyone should contribute, including the leader. And everyone shouldn't be seen as indifferent. Everyone should be treated equal. And how the journey started with the coach actually sweeping the floor in the room. So that taught me a lot about rolling up the sleeves, getting involved and helping out in the team where I could. So I forgot the name of the book.
Well, again, we always like podcasts with action items, so that is an action item. If you do find the name of that book, do leave it in the comments. I know Dom will thank you, and I will as well. Now, we're going to end with our final question, and this might be influenced by your affiliation to Cloudera.
Yes.
But what is your favourite colour?
Orange is by far my favourite colour, but I'm a McLaren fan as well, so that's part of that.
That's good. Now, that concludes Data Dump. So we're going to go back now and do a bit more of a deep dive into Dom and Cloudera.
Sure.
So I want you to talk about some of the things that you've noticed with public sector organisations looking to undertake digital transformation, particularly cloud transformation projects from your experience in Cloudera.
I mean, the biggest thing that we always talk about is, do we know all of the data that's in the landscape? And then we talk about what can we do to make sure that we can bring it together under one umbrella. Then the concept of a data lake usually evolves. And so Cloudera is very good at helping understand how we can bring everything into the umbrella, how we can bring it into a data lake, but then how we can have it as a distributed setup as well. So they're the sort of things I definitely talk about. Then once you've got the understanding of that concept, you can build on it, which is the deep learning or analytics that you would apply. So generally that's what I have as this is what we can help you with and help you with quickly. AI is just another form of analytics, but what we call deep learning, where we can go more advanced, or we can fast track that by bringing in large language models to apply to your data within your environment and securely learn from it without any worry or stress that it could be exposed or leaked.
And you did touch upon as well, obviously, the expansion of Cloudera into AI solutions as well. What's something that Cloudera offers to assist organisations on that AI journey?
Yeah, we got a couple of things. The big thing is AI in a box. So what we've got is access to applied machine learning prototypes or AI accelerators, projects that you can just download, run, and apply to your data in your environment and quickly learn how to adapt to your specific business needs. And then basically AI Studio was a way that we could allow you to go more low code, so drag and drop and get things done. Most organisations don't start on a high maturity level with AI. They always talk about experiment, start low, and we always talk about risk adverse. Don't try to do too much at once. So having stuff like AI Studio helps that journey of someone starting with, okay, how do I build, let's call it an AI application, to how can I then entwine that and combine that with multiple AI models and bring that together as an agent and expose that as a central unified interface. I commonly call it the virtual assistant, because what we're trying to do is combine as much as we can to make it look like you're having a conversation with something.
And I think it's obviously helps in terms of technical implementation. Having someone that understands human language, I think, is vital when you're looking at code all day.
Yes, that's right.
Now, are you able to share an example of an agency you might have assisted with a Cloudera solution and how that solution overcame some of the challenges they were facing?
Yeah, we're currently doing some work with one of the government organisations. I probably won't say the name, but the biggest focus there has been just modernising the way that they build documents and then QA them. So usually the journey of AI was all about summarisation, but we've turned it and flipped it and saying we could use some combination of some AI models as well as some human processing around grammar and things like that. And then we can actually fast track that process of quality assuring documents that go out and also look for things that we call common mistakes. You could think Word does that well, but Word doesn't cover everything. So that's something that's been done recently.
No, I have noticed that. There are sometimes words you have to add to the dictionary when you're using Word.
And one other one, which it's a sensitive topic, and it's about self-harm prevention. So if we have the right information and we can sort of have a lot of the things that we call trigger points, we can actually say that this person is on a target towards self-harm, and we can not stop it, but we can probably cause a reduction in self-harm. And that preventative focus is something that is so everyone would like to see keep going, because if we can get it to zero, it's a great outcome. If we can save one life, still a good outcome. So,
I think you've just touched on there, obviously, what is possible with the effective and proper use of data, and also any technological solutions as well, such as AI, to really tackle those problems that are sensitive in nature, not just the mundane problems that we're normally thinking of, in terms of reporting and financials. But again, getting back to that human-centered focus.
Yes.
Now, I want to bring it back to a little bit lighter in terms of the subject matter.
Sorry,
here.
that was deep, wasn't it?
No, but again, it's obviously an important thing. But I do want to talk about AI literacy. So obviously you've been around since the COBOL days. So I want to ask this as a two-part question in terms of what you've been doing personally to improve your AI literacy. And you have mentioned, obviously, there are tools you currently use, Gen AI tools, to synthesize data to learn new things. But are there any other strategies you employ? And then also, what does Cloudera do to ensure its employees are at par in terms of their AI understanding?
The first part, what I've been doing is I actually experiment a lot. So I previously talked about applied machine learning prototypes. So we have a sandpit environment where you can play and you can actually see how they work or walk through what they do. That teaches you a lot of new concepts. So I learned a lot about agent IO frameworks. And then I also learned a lot about things that we talk about, how you can learn and teach large language models, so RAG, fine-tuning, prompt engineering, and things that recently we've been working with is inference, where we try to use the model as it is and quickly run it against your data and get an output that you're trying to achieve. That's something that has evolved fast. I wanted to learn. I had an environment to play in. I could learn it. What Cloudera does is it has a lot of online learning events where you're actually taken through the journey of some of these topics, and at the end you actually got an exam, so you've got to pass it. And what happens is when you do that test and you pass it, your management know and everyone else knows, but at the same time it's something that everyone feels like it's a sense of achievement, that I do know what Cloudera is doing, and also what are the things that are important to the organisation that I should know. And the fact that I've passed, I can talk about it. So.
But no, that's good. And I think there as well, I want to deviate into a bit of career advice. So you've touched on, obviously, there are avenues to get qualifications, certified qualifications with Cloudera, and these are obviously beneficial for our emerging leaders that are looking to enter the data space, and also people looking for that next step in terms of promotion. What are some of the things you might encourage our emerging data leaders to consider to get that next step to either enter the data space or to get that promotion?
Yeah, definitely. I would find a business case that's not too complex and start with it. I know that every AI project that I've worked with clients with has evolved and has got more complex. So don't start too big, start simple, and focus on something that you would say is achieved some business value. And usually what happens is that journey for maturity and, let's just say, everyone coming on the board, getting on the bus, is a good way for everyone to feel like this is something that I can handle, control, and run at a speed that I can manage. So AI projects that are out of control are when we're trying to do too much and we can't get much done, but we keep saying we just need more. And then everyone tries to understand what that means: more data, more language models, or do we need more products, which starts to make the complexity turns into spaghetti, which then gets messy. So, yeah.
No, I think you've mentioned some good points there. Obviously, finding work that delivers business value, prioritizing that, developing your relationships with your business stakeholders, and that will lead to your long-term success. And particularly there with that AI call out, leaning into the new technology, as that might set you apart going forward in the industry as well. Because there are still some people that are quite apprehensive to AI, and obviously there are a lot of considerations on your privacy and security side, as well as just in terms of learning. It does take a bit of effort, but hopefully you invest that time, and hopefully Dom one day gets time to release that large language model as well. And that's how we're going to put the bow on this podcast, episode 4. But before we go, Dom, if people want to learn anything more about you or Cloudera, how can they reach out to you and Cloudera?
Sure. Via LinkedIn, feel free to reach out. Domenic, Domenic Brasacchio, Brascchio. Or if you click on the Cloudera website and just ask for information, that will come through for you.
Well, perfect. And that is a wrap. Thank you, and see you at the next podcast.
Thanks, Gabriel.